The time is upon us. We now have a brand new quote-unquote historical title coming out from Creative Assembly. In this video today, we're going to go through the trailer really quick. It's about 1 minute and 54 seconds. You can find the full trailer, of course, on Total War's YouTube. Expect me to talk over it. I'm probably going to turn the volume down because that's how this video works. And then we're going to go into the FAQ to give you some information about the actual content and what is coming. If you don't want to sit through everything in this video, let me just kind of give you the crash course on what's happening right now. So they're releasing a new game called Total War Pharaoh, which is basically going to be set in the Bronze Age. Right as you get the Bronze Age collapse about to kick in. So you're going to be playing mainly through the peoples of Egypt, through Canaan, and through the Hittites. You're going to kind of the big three that you're going to be playing around with. And also, this is going to be coming out in October of 23. So at the end of this year, in that beginning of that Q4 romp into the end. So that's what we're going to go through today, is pretty much watch this trailer, talk about the kind of pre-order content as well as the pre-order values and what kind of different additions there are. But if that's all you want to know, by all means, feel free to shut the video down. But for those that want to stick around, let's get crazy here with the Total War Pharaoh content reveal. And I don't even think I've watched this. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to turn that down. I'm going to press this button and we're going to rip on through it. Oh my God, I turned it down and it still was pretty loud. Beautiful shot, of course. The pyramids covered in limestone, which was like a white reflective sheen back then. And Brendan Fraser as a scarab. This is exactly where you got to make sure that you pick up after yourself. You don't want bugs in your house. That's it. This is the historical tile. Bugs Life 2. Ass to mouth with scarabs. There you have it. There's Total War Pharaoh. There's that announcement trailer. So we have some pretty cool stuff that we can kind of take a look at real quick here, just through this video. And this is the Bronze Age. And for those that don't really, is that going to stay there the whole damn time to have to do this? Fine. For those that don't really know much about the Bronze Age is really not filled with the kind of standard rank and file that you get as you come into the classical era, as you come into antiquity. Antiquity kind of being the Hellenic and Hellenistic era before jumping into the Roman era, which is called classical. And with that, you don't get this crazy ordered formations of disciplined soldiers. You don't get professional soldiers, right? Rome, one of the biggest things about Rome is that it had a professional soldier base, which is super rare for the time. And you kind of see this when these soldiers charge. That's kind of a bit of a hallmark of the Bronze Age. And it's also a bit of a hallmark as well of kind of the era of Helen of Troy, right? When we see Total War Troy, and you get these individual skirmish style fighters that kind of jump on and go crazy, right? It's less of a structured regimental combat line or pikemen and what's that event? Phalanxes and stuff like that. You just don't see that, right? You do see also some chariots. Now, one thing to really kind of note here, and it's one thing I'm kind of a little worried about this era. The Bronze Age is not a terribly interesting militaristic. Whoa. No one did this to the pyramids. Oh, historical title, my goddamn dick. Well, not for many years. But one thing I do kind of worry about with this era is that you don't have a ton of very vastly, we just don't have a ton of unit diversity is basically what I'm trying to say. things by and large are spearmen, people with kopeshes, people with axes, and chariots. Cavalry was not widely used because horses were beasts of burden more than anything at this time. They weren't necessarily used for war. Of course, chariots being a different situation. And also, a horse in a chariot is different than a horse, you riding a horse. A horse has to be bred for war. It has to learn that it doesn't need to fear the clanking of metal, spears being poked in its face, or else it will turn away from them. That's why a chariot is easier to, and I'm not a horse breeder, I'm not an equestrian, but theoretically, breeding a horse for chariot warfare is easier than breeding them for individual horse combat, cavalry-based combat. So that's a little bit of a smattering here for Pharaoh. Let's jump into some actual details on the FAQ if you have some questions there, and we can talk about that. So here we have the FAQ. Now, again, this is on CA's website. I have this ahead of time, so we're able to kind of jump through here. So this is, again, taking place, or this is going to be released October 23rd. It's the next installment of the award-winning strategy franchise. So what I'm a little curious about, because this does not say, oh, that's kind of a cool Total War symbol, right? That's got the Pharaoh guy, the Kopesh and everything. This is not a saga title. This is a full-fledged release from what I'm looking at in this FAQ. So I don't know if that means anything because, I mean, okay, so Total War Saga Troy, Saga Daga, whatever it was, wasn't a terribly small game by comparison to Thrones of Britannia. Thrones of Britannia was pretty small, especially in its scope too, right? And maybe that's what they're going to maybe say is the difference between Saga Troy and Total War Pharaoh is maybe the scope or land or the total amount of provinces, whatever it is, because you're really dealing with the other side of the Bronze Age here in Pharaoh. We don't know how much of Babylonia or whatever that we're going to be going into with the Egyptian Canaanites and Hittites, right? We don't know how much of the Babylonian and Assyrian empires, what's left of them at that point, or what's rising of them, depending on where you're looking at. So I'm very curious to see what that looks like. So the Total War Pharaoh will immerse players in the turbulent events of, hey, Falcon's playing Hunt Showdown, events of Egyptian New Kingdom period where they'll dominate the fate of the three great cultures as they fight for survival amid the cataclysmic Bronze Age collapse. So this is right as that beginning when you have the Egyptian New Kingdom era. And remember too, Egyptians have been around for quite a bit at this time. What is Total War Pharaoh? Is the newest entry in the award-winning grand strategy. We've already said that. Experience ancient Egypt during the vibrant and tumultuous era of the Bronze Age collapse and mastery. This is the same paragraph as above. When will Total War Pharaoh be released? October 2023. What playable factions will be available? So Egyptians with Ramses, Seti, Tausret, and I'm sorry guys, I'm not going to be able to pronounce these properly. I might know my history, but I do not know my pronunciations. And Messi. And then for the Canaanites, Be Ursu, and then Hittites, Kuruntu, and that name right there, additional supplements, whatever it says. And where can I play Total War Pharaoh and how much does it cost? So it'll be both on Steam and Epic Store. It is going to be a 50 pound, 60 euro, 60 US dollar game. And then the deluxe edition at 72, and then a dynasty edition at 91. We'll show off those editions and whatnot. It shows us all right here. So what's included in the deluxe and the dynasty? So the deluxe has the base game plus DLC Faction Pack 1 and digital soundtrack. Then the dynasty edition has the base game plus all three of the quote unquote announced, right? Like we just know that those DLC packs are announced. We don't know what the factions are. So all three of the faction packs and a campaign pack. Compared to paying full price for each individual item, the deluxe edition offers players a 10% discount and the dynasty edition offers a 25% discount. The DLC packs will be released as part of the post-launch content roadmap. Details of this roadmap will be provided at a later date. Okay. So what do I get if I pre-order the game? So if you pre-order the game, you get some packs too. Avatar of the Gods cosmetic pack, which a full sets, hot shown. Full sets? What does that mean? What is hot? Oh, not shown. I was like, what? Hot shown? What does that mean? Is it a sexy dance? So with that, we get each playable faction leader, 8 in total, and the heart of the Shardana cosmetic pack contains unique Shurdan outfits for bodyguard units. So these are their cosmetics for the faction leaders in the Avatar God pack. And then the heart of the Shardana cosmetic pack is cosmetics for the unique Sheridan outfits for bodyguard units. So this looks like it's going to be a historical title in the way that Total War Saga Troy at launch was. It doesn't seem that we're getting any mythological style of units. The cosmetic pack pre-order bonus bonus offer will all available until 1 week after release. And you can play an early access weekend will be shared at a later date as well. So you can play for early access as well. You also get a physical edition here too that has all the pre-order goodies plus the map and a art book, which is pretty nifty. If you are a budding digital artist of sorts, those are always nice to have. What languages will it come in? Will the game have multiplayer support at launch? Offers 2-player co-op and head-to-head mode. Steam and Epic users will have crossplay enabled. That's great to see. Always love to see the crossplay enabled. Will the game be released on Mac and Linux? Will be released on Mac and Linux after the launch on PC. Okay, so that is the down and dirty. That's the FAQ. That's all the little bits of information here. So I just kind of want to divulge all that before going into a bunch of random digressions about every single point. So now that we have the FAQ out of the way, we've talked a lot about the information on Total War Pharaoh. Let me kind of give you my thoughts on it and what have you. And I am excited to see a return to historical, right? I think that Total War Warhammer is an amazing franchise. It is probably hands down one of my favorite Total Wars, aside from like Rome 2 and Medieval and Shogun. I like all the damn Total Wars. But my point remains here that Total War Warhammer is great and I love it, but I'm just ready for a return to form of the kind of simplistic, quote unquote, approach of a historical title. I miss playing Rome 2. I really want a Medieval 2 remastered. I can't wait for a Medieval 3, an Empire 2, a Shogun 3, whatever it is the next step for Total War. I'm so excited more for those than I am now for Warhammer 3 DLC, because I've just played so much of Warhammer 3 across the last, or Warhammer in general, across the last, like what, 7, 8, 9 years of total launch of that franchise. I'm just ready for a return. Now, I want to see more about Total War Pharaoh before kind of like really making an opinion here. But my initial, I guess, outlook on this is kind of like cautious excitement, because when you take a look at Total War Troy, there's not a ton of real crazy unit diversity, right? And this is the same era. Yeah, sure, you're going to get a lot of cool chariots. You're going to have a lot of really amazing visual aesthetics, which is going to be probably the coolest thing about this game. But I want to know more about how the game actually plays. What's going to separate this from Total War Saga Troy? And is it just going to feel like a Total War Saga Troy in Egypt? So I do want to see how those things play out before kind of having a lot of hype within me about it. I am hyped to see that we're getting another historical title. I just want to see how that plays out. So let me know how you guys are feeling about it. I think that it's exciting to see that that they already have 3 faction packs announced and a campaign pack. So this makes me wonder, like, are we going to dip into Sumeria? Is that where we're going to get a little bit of that action going? But what I am a little kind of not disappointed or upset about is that Total War Saga Troy, I think, fell flat in my personal opinion because it led with a truth behind the myth or a historical light approach. I kind of think that had they launched Total War Saga Troy as straight up mythology with a planned, hey, you know what, we're going to be releasing a free DLC pack that makes it into a historical game where we take all the mythology out of it. We give you generals with bodyguards, more of a conventional style of Bronze Age historical titles. I think that it would have done better. I think also the kind of year exclusivity on Epic Store kind of estranged a lot of Steam players, as you know, it probably would have. It being free on day one was pretty cool, but still, I think that's kind of the 2 things that shot Troy in the foot. So Pharaoh being available on Steam and Epic is going to be great, but I do want to kind of see if or how they'll be playing with mythology for Pharaoh, because Greek mythology is awesome and it's amazing and it's a ton of fun, but so is Egyptian mythology. And if we somehow get a chance to combine the 2, like if one of these actual faction packs or campaign packs or some sort of free DLC, whatever the hell in the future for Pharaoh combines the map from Troy and a mythology base, that is Total War Age of Mythology. And that is probably the coolest goddamn setting I could imagine when it comes to mythological stuff. Now, I know a lot of people don't want that mythology anymore, but if we are going to get that mythology, I'd rather be able to play with as much of it as possible. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Are you excited about this? Is this something you thought you wanted, didn't know you wanted? Is this something you're not excited for at all? Do you just want to jump back into medieval or back into Shogun or back into Rome? By all means, let me know in the comment section below. Very excited to see what more of this looks like, but until we get more of it, I am a little apprehensive. Oh, and also too, the value of it, a $60 base game, depending on how much of, like, how big this map is, that's going to be a pretty steep upfront cost, I think. I think it's going to be really dependent upon what kind of breakout we're looking at across the Egyptian New Kingdom, right? You're looking at pretty much that entire, like the Levant, you're looking at Egypt, and you're looking at Anatolia for the most part with these three factions. I mean, not necessarily all of Anatolia. I'm just trying to give you at least a general geographical summarization of those three locations of factions. So that's not a huge map. That's very comparable to the Greek map in Total War Saga Troy, and that was not a $60 game. So I do want to again see what those mechanics look like, what the geography looks like, and what the future of the game looks like before I think that $60 is a good or a bad buy for this game. So again, very apprehensively excited. Want to see what the future looks like? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But have a good one and take care.